This week on the SRC podcast, we are approaching the final group round of the Cup. Listen in as we find out who needs what and analyse the latest round of fixtures. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the SRC podcast. Joining me, Big M, as always, the one and only Mr. Double R Rob Reese. I've done the Mr. the wrong place then, but it is what it is. How are we, mate?
Double R, Mr. Reese. Kurt, start again.
Oh no,
all good, but the snow is coming down in Ebervale, so all is good.
Happy days. All is good when you can't see the atrocity that is the pitch. Only joking. Only joking.
I haven't fucking played on it since pre-Christmas.
Has it been that long now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Christ, it should be looking nice then.
The Pontypool game.
Christ, that has been a long while. No Sicky again this week, and we actually don't know where he is. So we're gonna have to start posting around where's Sicky, because
Sicky, but Winnie.
Oh, there's a pup on screen for the audio listeners. But yeah, I think a where's Sicky post needs to go out. We need to find him, make sure he's still breathing, and whatnot. But other than that, it's been another round of SRC Cup fixtures.
Ooh.
And not only has there been another round of fixtures, it's actually been a full round of fixtures. Can you believe it? No,
I can't,
Martin.
You must be talking bollocks. It can't have been a full round of fixtures.
Like, don't get me wrong, I normally do talk bollocks, but this time I am not. So, where to begin? We've started in Pool A for majority of these. So should we shake things up? Shall we start with Pool B and see how we go?
Yeah, let's cover Pool B, then do the double of Pool A, and then finish on Pool B, because that's where nobody's actually confirmed any places yet.
Yeah, BAAB. I like that. That sounds good. Bab.
Kebab.
Like yeah, bab. So the kids, that's what my kids call like a bab. A bab. So it works. It works. Yeah. Okay, so we'll make Rob happy by starting off at the Brewery Field, where Ebervale travelled to take on a fairly resurgent Bridgend. And needless to say, it wasn't smooth sailing, was it? But before we sort of talk about the match, you've had some confirmation of a few injuries, unfortunately, haven't we?
Yeah, pretty much. Evans still waiting on some scan results to fully determine, but I'll be honest, it looks like he is going to be out now for a little while if worst is as first thought. I think Jack Pope is done for the season. Ewan Bowden's done for the season. Obviously, from prior weeks, Griff Tuff is done for the season. But other than that, it's all positive.
Other than losing, a major players at halfback, where you do skate kind of thin, as a few teams do at halfback.
Well, you think about it. There's been 5 players now from your first 15 have gone since January, because Dorian Jones finished up with his sort of playing aspect of it to pick up his coaching role back in the States. Now Evan Lloyd's gone down, and you're thinking, Christ, like, it's typical. Last year they started with 2 and ended with maybe 1 walking wounded. This time they've gone out right, they'll bolster it, and now both of them are out anyway. So they've had to call upon a Dragons 17-year-old who's involved with Wales age grade, so he'll probably disappear at some stage of the season anyway.
Yeah, so if he's with the 18s, obviously they'll have the Six Nations Festival normally around Easter time, which that's when the league really is back in full flow. Then when you go in head first to the playoffs. But good news is those festivals are only like a week, 10 days long. They play a game every 3 days or something. So you shouldn't be missing him for too long, maybe 2-3 weeks at the best. But back to the original point, Bridgend against Ebervale at the Brewery. And really tight game, to be fair. 7-14 in Ebu's favour at the half. Still 1 score in there, approaching the red. I mean, obviously, Ebu do come away with the win, 28-21, 4 tries. So, a nice 5-pointer. go back just a few weeks, and we would expect him to be coming into this, final weekend with Llandovery and Ebbw Vale both on 18 points, ready to go toe to toe. Obviously, the postponed game has taken a bit of a hit out of that, but you've only got 2 5-point wins from your two played games. I mean, surely this wasn't the plan, or at least wasn't expected.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a weird one. As you say, you'd have expected a bit more. I think all of a sudden the weather and sort of the conditions play a factor more in the Aberafan game. So I think you'd be very happy with the 5 there. But as you say, the postponements coming through and putting all the postponed games as 0-0 draws has effectively killed off a result based performance to put them top, because you're ultimately now having to go an absolute hiding to put Ebbw Vale on top. But I'll be honest, I think I called it actually on last week's pod. I said I think Ebbw Vale are going to win, but it's not going to be a 6-pointer. And I said that for a couple of reasons. One, I just felt that Ebbw Vale were rotating round, and the situation with rotations, injuries, etc., and just the generic conditions wasn't all inclusive of 6-pointer screaming in your face. But also, I feel like Bridgend have had some decent signs. They picked up the win against Aberafan. That's the only performance they got points from prior to this game. But in a sense, they had to get something out of this game. Now they're now on 5 points in the 4th position, so they guaranteed the plate minimum because of Aberafan's 4-pointers, and that's all done. But it's all about can they get a home game, and the Brewery Field needs to become a bit of a fortress. And I'll be honest, Scott Bolden's been doing some good analysis on X, if anybody's been following him on the Wales game. So obviously he's
switched on.
Yeah, he's switched on at the moment, and I'll be honest, Bridgend could have taken more out of this game, and if they would have been a little bit more clinical and consistent across the 80 minutes, they probably would have. There's a little bit of a patch at 20 minutes again where Ebbw Vale go back-to-back tries, and you're going up, that's the gap that opens right up, and ultimately couldn't quite pull it back. But it's probably a good sign for Bridgend that there is a resurgence, the right word. The cup has shown positives. 1 win in 3, yes, but when you're taking on Llandovery, Ebbw Vale and Aberafan in that space, you'd only expect 1 win anyway, if we're being brutally honest. So 5 points, yeah, I think that's probably about fair. They go into the Swansea game, a winnable game. So if they win that, they got a plate competition. That's another win. And if you reach a final, you get another game. If you don't, you get a rest week. So you're sorted. And hopefully this does put Bridgend in a good place going back into the league, because I think we've all said it. I think that the SRC gets a lot of criticism around the gaps and the quality between different sides, but Bridgend are showing you that they can mix it with, certainly in terms of the league, the best side this season, and hopefully it means that when we get the league back underway, that they start pushing up the table a little bit and closing that gap and making it a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch the league when it does kick back off in how many weeks is that now? So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, something like that. 5 weeks.
Yeah,
It's not that long.
Yeah, you got your final
20,
pool game, then
yes,
you got your semi-final, then you got your final, and it's the 7th of March, I believe, is the first fixture back.
I've got well, I don't know what fixture that is, but I got the 21st is Ebbw Vale's. That's the fixtures I'm looking at now. So the 21st of March is your next game. So that is just over 4 weeks away from today. So that works out about right.
Bridgend Pontypool on the 7th, Swansea Pontypool 14th, back to a full set of fixtures on the 21st.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of the replay fixtures first.
Be good to see. No, I'm just having a little nose at Ebbw's squad now. Like you did say there was a few rotations, so there were 7 out and out changes in the 15. Cam Davis shifting from 13 to 12 as well. Someone notable that we did pick up on last week being on the bench, Johnny Evans, again, his first start. Ironically, his last start was against Bridgend on the 19th of October 2024. So, we're talking 16 months since that man has played a game. And I know we've already spoken about the experience lost, but the experience gained as well is going to be massive for you guys. So,
Yeah, well, that's just it. I think actually, won his last game off the bench in the cup final last year. He came off, didn't he?
I'll have to look for that. I know his last start was in October.
Yeah, I'm sure he came off the bench in his comeback game and then went off inside like 2 minutes because there was injuries below that game.
Yeah, that is, and that date was 20th of March. So we're talking. He's played what?
Months.
He's had one bench appearance and one start really because of the few minutes in over a year, which is unreal if we've been talking about it. But like you said, kudos to Bridgend. They've shown a lot of fight, and long may it continue. Over to the other game in Group B, Pool B, I should say, was another really tightly contested fixture, which is really good to see. So Swansea travelled to Tag to take on Aberavon. This was Aberavon all or nothing, really, to kind of save their cup plate, whatever you want to look at. And they came out and they gave it a good go. In all fairness to them, okay, they didn't get a win in the end. That did go to Swansea. So final score was 28-22 in Swansea's favour. But 14-10 to Swansea at half time. Only a 6-point lead at the end of the game. This was really tight. So it's great to see. Like I know they are. I want to say they are both bottom 5 in the league, but they're still a really contestable game. And let's be honest, Aberavon haven't looked much of themselves before this cup run, so it's great to see them coming back and actually putting on a performance to be proud of.
Yeah, and I think it almost requires it from an Aberavon perspective because it left them on 4 points. Obviously their bye week is this week, so they have an extended week off, and it plus basically minimum of another week. Obviously, because they're not in the plate or the cup, so that gives them at least another week off. So they've got a long layoff now, and I'll be honest, I think Aberavon are the sort of side who don't really want that because they put in a good performance against Swansea there, and again probably feel like they just needed to tighten up a little bit. They were chasing the games, probably the wrong term here, but they were sort of just about clinging onto it. You thought, oh, here they go. Can they get that opportunity? Oh, wait, no, Swansea scored. Oh, Aberavon have scored again. So they needed to get that double score to flip the game in his head. But again, in the previous round's fixture against Ebervale, they were really good value. They've got 4 points and haven't won a game. They've lost all 4 games and have got 4 points. So they're in these games. They got little things they can work on. And obviously the change of coaching structure, is something that they will only help with a little bit of time in with Chris. So yeah, I feel a rest period is going to be frustrating for the club and frustrating for the supporters because you get to see literally every other team other than one playing fixtures. But it'll help you get a healthy squad. Like I said, they're going to have over a month off now, pretty much. And yeah, there's positives to take. And again, another competitive game that ultimately makes it very interesting. And it is a shame that we've got postponed games in here that have gone down as a 0-0 draw because I'll be honest, these cup games have by and large been a fantastic competition. Not just, a couple of people making it through. The plate has definitely added something. Doesn't matter what people say about these second tier comps. They've done all over the world in all different manners of sports and activities. And it gives everybody something to play for because Aberavon was still playing for something. Right now, if there was only the cup, it'd be done. It'd be all over, basically. Swansea could mathematically overtake Ebervale. But again, in reality, if they haven't had nothing to play for the last couple of weeks, it probably changes the dynamism of how those teams approach each round. Llandovery are already safe. Newport would already be safe in the other group. So yeah, it's great to see another one-score game. I'll be honest.
Yeah. So obviously Aberafyn's cup and plate journey, we need to say, has come to an
Mm.
end. They will finish fifth in the table. So a quick look over their stats. Obviously, played 4, lost 4, unfortunately. The 4 bonus points, 3 losing, 1 try. The try bonus point coming against Ebbw Vale. 11 tries overall and finishing with a minus 44 points difference. But if we remove the Llandovery game from there,
Mm.
3 losses by a total of 13 points. That's,
Yeah,
that's good by anybody's box. If you're going to go down, you go down swinging, and they've got a 1 point loss and 2 6 point losses in there. So
yeah.
I think they can be proud of the effort. They'll be disappointed they're not at least in the plate. But someone's got to be the unlucky loser at the end of the day, and in Pool B, unfortunately, it is Aberafan.
Yeah, no, I think that just sums it up. As you say, is the overall stats probably show that they have not been given a hammering, but they've been up against it. But like you say, you remove one game from that, the Llandovery fixture, and all of a sudden it's portraying 3 close games, additional points against a couple of sides. You're going, okay, actually, this is a side that are generating points and closing teams down. They're not getting mullered, and especially like I said, the Evervale performance will give them a lot of hope going forward.
Yes, indeed. So over to Pool A now, and another set of keenly fought fixtures. So we'll start down west with the mighty Quins. Obviously, not very happy the last time they played Cardiff, losing the way we did in that game. I'm still hurt by it, to be honest. But we've come out and very scrappy game by all accounts, a 15-7 win. So, not the greatest in terms of where you go and see attacking rugby, free flowing rugby, but you've ground out and you got the job done. And I believe Cardiff's score came from transition as well. I think it might have been a charge down or something similar. So no real tries, no points conceded in open play, as in, you haven't been torn down and worked away. So even though it's just the 4 points, and I know we talk about this because we have the extra 6 point now. It's a solid result. I think it really puts Cardiff in a hell of an awkward place.
I think it actually confirms Cardiff is out. So Cardiff can only get to 6 points. Quins are on 6. The tiebreaker then is most wins, which if Cardiff won, would put them on 1 each. But then it goes to fewest losses, and
and
that would
draw.
be Quins on 2 because they've already got a win and a draw, and Cardiff are already on 3. So in effect, Quins already through now. Cardiff are out because of that result, and again, that shows the purpose of bonus points. And as you say, Quins haven't been broken down here. The defense has been really good. They've been hit. Their attack is what has cost them a try here. And that'll really be pleasing going through because Quinn started the season, I feel, a really tough team to beat. They weren't scoring many points, but they had the best defense in the league. And that is true. That's not an opinion. They had the fewest tries conceded, the fewest points conceded. They were top 2 at one stage and consistently in that top 4 for a large amount of the season. And they sort of fell away as they went towards Christmas and sort of coming through that sort of period. But that's a really impressive performance because that Cardiff team has been up and down in the cup in terms of who they've selected. But there were some big names in that Cardiff side, especially up front in the pack, pro players involved. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I, I,
Corey Domakowski is the one big name, a current Welsh international, packing down at Loosehead. Their backline was a solid backline. It was, I wouldn't say it's the absolute strongest, but it's you
no,
put any of these names in their backline and you wouldn't say the standard drops at all.
no, and I'll be honest, I found predicting this game difficult. I can't actually remember, but I think I might have gone Cardiff.
Ooh, let me double check. You did, and
Yeah,
obviously Sicky went for a draw.
yeah. But I'll be honest, I seen the team news. And I thought, Quins are pretty strong. We know they got injuries in certain places. But their usual strong self, no weaker than we expected. Cardiff, I thought, were actually a bit stronger than I expected. I know it was all or nothing for them in terms of if they got basically nothing out of this, they're out, which is what happened. So I thought, I actually do think with Quins on a bit of a not a downward spiral, but a bit of a lack of form that Cardiff are gonna get into this, and I think these low scoring games what helps Quins. Like 15-7, we said about their low scoring games. Again, the first 3 or 4 weeks of the actual league were all low scoring games for them, other than I think the opener was it against Bridgend.
No, it was the second week against Cardiff, the 36-33 win down at Cap.
And they had a couple of games against Pontypool where they were low scoring games, and they actually went a couple of games without scoring at all in the second half themselves.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a Quins that got their personality back. And I'll be honest, really interesting because obviously Newport are out at they're through at the top. They've played all their games, they're through. Cardiff are out at the bottom, obviously still play. So it's so interesting with Quins on 6, RGC 7, Pooler on 8. That is such a good setup now for that cup spot and the 2 plate spots because, of course, you finish in third and you got a home game as well, which is the added bonus of where you want to be.
Exactly. And we will jump over to the other game in Pubby, which, given it was Newport at home to RGC, I believe we all backed Newport for this, as a sane man would. Sicky not in control of his. Well, I don't really know what the word to say is here. He somehow selected RGC, but this is one that got away for RGC in all seriousness. So Newport win the day 29-26. So it is a very tight game. Only a 15-13 lead to the home side at the half. But RGC have consistently done this season what a lot of teams don't do anymore, and that is taking the 3 and keeping that scoreboard ticking. And that is what kept them in this game. So they only had the 2 tries, but the boot of Billy McBride contributed, let's have a look, 12, 16 points. And that is really, it gave them an initial lead early on in the first half before Newport came back. And it just kept that scoreline so close. And I wouldn't have been shocked if I flipped over and saw either it was 29 all or if RGC stole it at the death.
Yeah.
Because that's really how this game seems to have played out. Newport have gone, very, very traditional, very Newport. They've got their 4 tries. Okay, they missed one conversion, but they grabbed a penalty for their full 29. But RGC, I mean, knowing that Quins have got to travel up there on the back of this result, I'm nervous for other reasons, but hell of a performance by the North Walians.
Yeah, and as you say, probably another one where the losing side feels they probably should have got a bit more out of this. They really got into a strong Newport side who've been delivering quite a bit. Getting into them at the breakdown. Newport weren't as dominant with collisions, getting into them at the set piece. And as you say, it is underrated quite a bit in the modern community game, should we say, because a lot of people now, because of the simplicity of set play at times and the prowess it offers and the complication of the rules and the laws that you have to apply around it, are mixed in with poor pitches. People don't kick for goal as often. You don't see drop goals either as often, which is obviously a dying art form in itself overall. But it's good to see Billy McBride back after a very, very brief spell with the Scarlets. And yeah, he's one of those players. RGC got to utilize his boot because, I'd be honest, he's one of those 90% kickers in the league. And when you have somebody like that, you have to utilize them. And they will kick themselves because if they could have transitioned their play a bit better, they may well have walked away with the full points because you get a feeling there was room for tries out there. do you then have to say at some point, have they taken the points to the extreme? Do you have to take a chance on one or two of them penalties and say, boys, we're going to kick to the corner here. We got someone who can kick us right in the corner, and we're going to shove them over. Ultimately, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but yeah, it puts them in a solid spot. I'll be honest, RGC. Out of the three sides there that are still in the mix for different positions, they're probably the favourite side to take second.
Depending on what the team sheets do eventually say,
We don't wait for
you're
the
not
team
wrong.
sheets, Martin.
I know, but that's the exciting part about what we do, and we'll get onto that almost immediately. So, give or take halfway, please like, share, subscribe, comment, everything under the sun. No, there's loads of way to get involved with us, and who knows if Sicky keeps pulling these sickies, or actually he's actually AWOL right now. To be fair, who knows? Maybe we pull a listener on the pod. Just,
Ooh.
but obviously,
As long as it's not that bloody Giovanni from Ebervale.
we can't have another Ebuvalian on you.
Oh no.
It would just be terrible. I mean, I've got 30 quins, boys. That'd be about right. I think that'd be fine. To be
I'm
fair,
just trying to think where's the gap that we had Cardiff, we've had Aberavon, we've got Quins.
I mean, well,
Yeah. There was
so
talk of a Bridgend supporter joining us, and then that never materialised.
true. I remember that chat. Yeah, it's interesting. Who knows? Maybe we should think about getting. Maybe a few listeners would like having a guest spot every now and then when Sicky does his
Yeah.
usual Sicky. Okay, let's get on to this week's fixtures, and we're sticking with Pool A as we said. So let's start with Cardiff and Pontypool. Now, obviously, given the permutations that we believe to be correct, Cardiff are out of this tournament. They are fifth. There is no option of the plate or the cup. Pontypool, on the other hand, they are sitting very, very nervously in second, just 1 point clear of RGC and only two in front of Carmarthen. So it's a difficult one to really put your finger on. I think the improvements we have seen in Pontypool will just about be enough. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Cardiff field not an inexperienced,
Changed.
23, but probably a few more boys, the younger boys, given opportunities. As okay, there's always pride to play for. There's always a shirt to play for. But competitively, in terms of the cup, there isn't anything for them. So I think I'm swinging Pontypool on this one.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think where we've said it about Chiefs, progress since he's come in, and I think he's the sort of person that thrives on a game like this, getting a team up for a do or die game. If they lose this, they could be going away to someone in the plate competition. And as much as it is an interest and keeps the interest there, everyone thrives for the top competition, and Chief wouldn't give a fuck about playing in the plates. And he'll base everything he's got off. We go out there, boys. It's in our hands, and we're going to go to either Vale or Landovery. That's where we're gonna go out, finish second, which is all we can do. It's in our hands and go from there. And I'll be honest, the pitch probably helps them. At the moment, pitches are a bit heavy underneath. If they want to score some tries out there, Cardiff, down the Arms Park is a prime place to score some tries. They've got the 1 point lead on their opposition and a 2 point lead, depending on how it goes. So if they can get a bonus point and win, that's 5. Well, you've got the 1, so that's at least a 6 point gap. So you're sorted. And as you say, I just feel Cardiff might just name a bit of a mixed side. So yeah, I've got
Oh,
City predictions here though.
before we get into that, we do actually
Cardiff
have
team, isn't there?
we got Cardiff team news. I've just clocked 30 minutes ago. It's come through. So
Oh.
let's have a quick look over it. So we got Matty Young, Joe Goodchild, and Derry Cross as the back three. Tom Williams, Johan Leishon in the centres. Harry Wild, Ethan Lloyd halfbacks. Front row, Cameron, Tyler Grocott, that's what you say. Yeah, Gavin Parry, Callum Donahue Proud, Sonny McCabe, and Ethan Phillips at lock. Craig had Nathan had Ben Fry in the back row. A name I can't pronounce as replacement hooker, Nichols, and I'm not risking that one. We got Brooke, replacement Loosehead, Tom Harper as replacement tight head, Alexander White, another name I don't recall seeing as replacement lock, or at least I believe lock. Tyrion Bowen, is it Tyrion? I think it's Tyrion.
Yeah.
For back row, Joe Williams, Johan Penry, and Sean Davis as back cover. So, I mean, that front five, whilst it does carry experience with Ethan Phillips and Gavin Parry, is not
Changed.
as powerful as we could see
No.
a Cardiff front five. And, Tom Williams has been a mainstay in this Cardiff, backline in 23 all season. But I don't recall seeing him and Leishon playing an awful lot together. So there could be, some elements to expose there.
Yeah, and I think that's what you've got to take. It's less so the individual talent and more so the combinations. And I think that's where Pontypool will really try and get stuck into them.
Yeah, I'm just switching over to Facebook now to see if Pontypool have put their team sheet up. I don't expect so, but
No,
just in case.
in fairness to John, John's made his call before seeing the Cardiff team news, and that's why he's gone for another draw.
Yeah, that sounds about right, and I can't see another team sheet for Pontypool. So Cardiff's is all we have to go. We normally keep this one for last. I think I've made a bit of a mistake doing it this way, but you know what? Who cares? Cardiff are out. It's not so we can do much about it. So a
Quote
draw.
Ben Fry in the Ebervale match when he's talking to the Ebervale supporters, silly cunt.
Oh my god, is that really the first piece of profanity you're going to come out with on this
No,
week's
I've
game?
already said the F word.
Have you?
Yeah.
I don't know us. If it's not the first one, that's a harsh start. No issues with it, but a harsh start.
Good.
Over to the other game in Pool A, we see Carmarthen Quins travel up to RGC, and if I talk as a Carmarthen fan right now, this is a real double-edged sword for me. Just because should Pontypool not get the win against Cardiff, that means a win would be enough for Quins to go into the cup. And yes, I know you have all the glory of the cup, but I am a realist, and I don't think we can go away 2 weeks in a row and beat Llandovery, Vale, Newport, two of those three. I don't think we can do that at this point in time. We can do one. 100% I reckon we can do one, but to do it 2 weeks on the bounce is just a little bit too much. The plate gives us a real chance of getting silverware, which is brilliant. I do love the fact we've gone with, two tiers of competition this year. If it was just a step of adding semi-finals with the cup, I would have been happy with that. But the fact it's gone one even further with the plate is absolutely brilliant.
We should have a bowl now, shouldn't we, between Aberravon and Cardiff?
That wouldn't be bad.
Out to the bottom in Welsh rugby. Who'd have thought that?
That would be, or call it a spoon. We like a spoon, yeah. But
Winner gets one ticket to the Scotland game at the weekend. Loser gets two.
That's harsh. That's really harsh. Come on, back the boys, even though they're kind of shit and don't have any real coaches. But yeah, I mean, looking at this, obviously, you got to take Pool B into consideration here as well, because obviously you're looking at third and fourth there. You got Swansea on 7, Bridgend on 5. You're talking RGC on 7, Carmarthen on 6. Looking as those two teams in Pool B are facing each other, you'd think 12 points would be the maximum they could finish on. Probably, if it's a tight one, it might even be 11 if it's a low scoring game. So and you want that top seed in place going into whatever competition there is. So for Carmarthen, you've got to go all out, and you either end up in the cup and you go, okay, we take it from you, we go for it, or you hopefully get top seed in the plate. But yeah, in terms of the game in itself, I think we have seen from previous fixtures that RGC struggled to break down Quinn's defence, and I'm got my fingers crossed that that's going to be the difference maker yet again, and I will back the Quins for another away win against RGC.
Ooh, we're definitely split you. You've gone for a Quins win. Sicky's gone for
A draw
a draw
again.
again. I'm going for RGC win. I feel
Ooh.
on their track with a bit of form. You know, they're playing some decent stuff. I feel that they probably got a bit too much. As you say, I think Quins can do the odd game, but I feel at the moment they'll just go out and try and win. I don't think Quins are going to look at permutations. I don't think many clubs probably would. But I just feel that there is enough in this RGC side at the moment just to just take it away, play off the loose, you know, and take advantage of what Quins are doing at the moment, because they're not as solid as they were right at the start of the season. So RGC win for me.
Ooh, I'm just having a quick look at the last few fixtures between them, and RGC have scored 12, 10, 21, and 29, and the 29 was the game that they won. So Quinn's, through the entirety of the SRC, yes, I know we're only the second season, so that's a bit rich, really saying it at the minute. But they do seem to have, their number. They do seem able to curtail this RGC. So this is probably, one of the fixtures to watch, and it's a shame. Like, obviously, I know everyone's got to have their home games, and it's great to have an RGC in the league, but it is a bit of a shame it's not down where both sets of fans can actually turn out and give it what it deserves. Really, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I know we could probably see might even see 1,000 plus about RGC, and that's absolutely brilliant for them. But, when you want both sets of fans, you want good numbers of away fans in games.
No Kamara, not any fans.
We
They're
got
like if there's
30, at least 30 that I'm aware
there's
of.
usually about 6 kids and parents in the park, and about 15 dogs.
Well, am I not allowed to count the dogs now? Because that really affects my numbers. All fine. Okay. So I think, yeah, it's gonna. I think it's gonna be Llandovery, Pontypool that are gonna top the top two in this group, and then obviously we'll see Quins and
Newport,
RGC.
oh,
Oh,
Martin.
Newport,
Fuck
bugger
it.
off! I
Fuck
keep
it,
saying
Mark.
I used to saying Llandovery top all the time. It's my
Yeah,
fault.
yeah,
My
yeah.
fault. Okay.
Typical Carl.
Blah blah blah. Okay. On to Pool B, and let's get the interesting game out of the way. So that's Swansea against Bridgend. This really is, you know, another really difficult game to call. I mean, Swansea sort of at home. This game is in Dunvant now. Before I say it's in Dunvant, and it's not.
Is it in Llandovery, Matt?
It might be in Llandovery. Yeah, I think you're right for there. No, so Swansea have the home field advantage as such, but Swansea having the opportunity, if they manage to get a 6-pointer. I don't think they will, but a 6-pointer could be enough to leapfrog Ebbw Vale. And I have a sneaky suspicion Joe Thomas and his men have got that in the back of their minds. So I do, as much as Bridgend on a resurgence, and I think they are more than capable of winning this game. I think Swansea having that little bit extra to play for and the home field advantage will just about get them through.
Yeah, I agree in terms of I think Swansea are going to win this one, but I do think the Bridgend have got that competitiveness in them. And we might be pushing into a 2-score game here, but I just feel that Swansea are they mix at the moment. They're not putting teams away consistently for me to say, yeah, you know what, home field advantage, lots to play for, 6-pointer. But I think it'd be another good game. I think this would probably be a really good game to watch as a neutral as well. It's a
Yeah.
shame there hasn't been more TV coverage.
Yeah, there's been no TV coverage of the cup to date. I believe we're going to get some of at least one knockout game.
Yeah.
So maybe hopefully Esped Rec will step up and cover at least one or two semi-finals, which would be great for everyone to see. Yeah, and like I know I'm getting ahead of myself by year, but I think a Swansea Carmarthen plate final has got a bit of a nice ring to it. I think that would be a really nice day out, to say the
Oh,
least, for
Swansea
everyone,
or Carmarthen?
for everyone in the world. And if it does so happen to be played at Swansea's designated home ground, Dunvan's a nice place in terms of, if you're going into Swansea, it's one of the nicer places around. Don't get
Oh,
me
yeah.
wrong. It's not
Yeah.
Carmarthen, but it'll do in a tight fix.
Yeah. Dunvant twinned with Mordor.
I think you've said that before. It's getting old now, my friend. Getting old. So, did Sicky make a prediction for this one? I
He did.
cannot
Let me
see.
just double check. Do you know what? He's gone for another draw.
Oh my god, this man is insane. Okay, so final fixture is the top of the table clash. It is Llandyfri in first place, travelling to Ebbw Vale in second. And I know we spoke at the top of the show about Ebbw's injury mishaps. They currently got basically a child in nappies playing a 10 for them. So I think those losses are just going to be too much. I do think Llandyfri are going to just pip a win in this one, unfortunately, my friend. So I'm gonna guess that Sicky's gone for another draw. I'm just gonna type a draw into his prediction. So you
He
you run through
has.
you run through the rest of this fixture.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah, so let's do the maths first. If Llandovery take any points from this game, they finish top guaranteed. Ebervale need to stop Llandovery from getting any points, score 4 or more tries, and win by 15 or more points to get a 6-pointer. They would then be tied on most wins with 3 wins apiece. But Ebervale have fewer losses, 0-1, based off their draw with Swansea, and Llandovery would obviously have had to lose this game. Do I think Ebervale are going to win this game? Yes. Do I see a 6-pointer? And that's where I think this one, I think the Swansea draw has fucked Ebervale in this pool, to be honest, in terms of getting top spots. I don't see a 6-pointer, not for the third time this season. We've seen it a couple of times. The conditions have been slightly better, or a lot better. And as you say, there's a few key injuries around there that it's sort of like a perfect blend. And don't get me wrong, sometimes that helps. Sometimes Llandovery not knowing what to expect, perhaps, off certain individuals or what they do can help. But I feel this will be a slow burn at the start, this game. Llandovery will want to be they'll be focused on keeping this a tight game. They're aware that Ebervale need the 6 points, so they want to keep this going. They'll be going for goal, I think, early doors. And Ebervale are going to want to keep the scoreboard ticking as well, because ultimately, whenever they've gone on to do their runs of 6-pointers, they've always done that by keeping the scoreboard ticking. Whether that's taking the odd penalty, whether it's combining those sort of rolling mauls and stuff like that. So it'll be an interesting game. I don't think the conditions are particularly great. I've already mentioned that the pitch is currently covered in about an inch of snow. But it'll be good composition because it hasn't been played on since the week before Christmas. But obviously it'll be a heavy pitch. So I think it'll be a solid game of rugby. I think Ebervale will win, but ultimately I think the 6-point mountain that they've got to climb may be a little bit too far at this stage. And again, it all comes down to that rearranged Swansea fixture.
yeah. I mean, it's not just a 6-pointer. It's 6-0.
Yeah,
You've
that's
got
the
to stop.
problem. Innit?
Yeah, you've got to stop Drovers scoring 4 tries, and I think that will be their first port of call. They probably won't be thinking too much about the result in the first half. They'll just be going, you know what, bonus point does this for us. just attack with everything you got.
Well, that's just it. They'll want to be playing that territorial game. They'll play Lee Riccio and Hughes at half backs to start. They'll be trying to put a lot of pressure on the Ebervale set piece, which has been shaky, and they were jumping across and causing issues in the previous game up at Church Bank, which was a 6-pointer. So that they'll want to pressurize these sort of areas, and I think we could see a few Scarlet drop downs in some key areas. No, we will, Martin. We will, Martin. There's more Llandovery Scarlets than there are Llandovery supporters. There's 17 of them coming down on the bus. Supporters. There'll be 23 fucking Scarlets out there, Martin. Come on.
Nah, honestly, mate, if this was last week, then I might have agreed with you. But the URC is back in action in a fortnight's time. They're probably going to want to wrap some boys in cotton wool. They've had issues with boys playing the week before a game and picking up injuries, and given the state of the squad, obviously with international call-ups,
Martin.
It'll be the usual academy selections.
Academy. All these first teamers, nobody wants. End up at Llandovery getting us trounced by Ebervale twice already this season. Let's just see it happen again, Martin.
One has an asterisk with a Corey Baldwin red card next to it. But
hey, listen, if a professional wants to be a shithouse and lose to a bunch of plumbers, pharmacists, and fucking brain surgeons, carry on. I wonder why they got rid of him, though. He is a bit shitty.
I mean, that's harsh to be saying of anybody. Let's be honest. You can't be calling players shit,
Sorry, Martin. Sorry, Corey. You're not shit. You're just talently inept.
I think that's worse.
Yeah, but at least we can put that as a clip and then just leave everybody to wonder who I'm talking about.
Well, considering you said Corey, I think, and the lead up was talking about Corey Baldwin's red card. I think it's pretty easy.
If Lee clips it down, that's the fucking cliffhanger right there.
I think we need to end the show now. Okay, podcast over, done. Yeah. Please like, share, subscribe. Do you think if Corey Baldwin, if you're listening, or someone knows you is listening, Rob's taking the piss. He loves you, really. He does wish you were at Ebervale. I've had him say it, off air.
I do, because the last time he came to Ebervale, we fucking won. And we were all chanting cheerio after he fucking got sent off.
Stop, dick.
Oh, sorry, Martin. I forget. Sorry, Corey, if you're listening. Please do it again.
But I will say that Exeter move messed up his career. I firmly believe that. Obviously, his opinion may differ. That's my personal opinion. I think he could still be a pro if he stayed at the Scarlets. He was getting good game time at the time. But anyway, past that, please like, share, subscribe. There might be a shop underneath if you're watching on YouTube or whatever. Comment, do your thing. I'm not going to thank you this week because you've said too many bad things this week.
Yes.
But thank you for listening, and we will do it all again next week. Goodbye.
Cheers, Corey.
Super.